Gracious. Okay, this is the universe telling me that I need to learn technology or hire someone to do it for me.
You too.
Welcome to Entrepreneur Wednesday. My name is Patricia Cimino, and every Wednesday for the last 8 weeks, I've been coming live to you with a different woman entrepreneur's story of how she got started to inspire you. If you have any thoughts about a business idea or anything that you have been thinking about that you think might be something you'd like to do moving forward. So I'm a certified life coach, and I help women. I help men too, but I help women who want to discover the next chapter of themselves. And many times this last year, the women I've been coaching have wanted to do something entrepreneurial. Actually, I've had some guys who've gone into doing something entrepreneurial too. So I'm not going to leave them out. But today I want to share with you my guest. Her name is Tiffany Schimmerling. She is the owner of Dogwood Florist. Every week I've been bringing women from different categories like bricks and mortar, direct sales, artists, writers, speakers, all different types of people. And Tiffany has a florist that's in the city. And can I just tell you that I have admired her work since she started. Like, I have never seen the type of creativity used with floral as she does. She just brings such organic movement to her pieces that it just takes your breath away. And it's very creative. Like, she was doing the palm leaf wrapped around the vase way before it became like a popular thing to do. She uses a lot of organic things and textures, and it's just beautiful, beautiful stuff. So welcome, Tiffany.
How are you? Hi, Patty.
I just want you to first introduce yourself to the audience, who you are, and what it is that you do, even though I told a little bit about what you do, but take it a little more in detail as far as, what type of places or people utilize your services. So start off with who you are, though.
Okay. My name's Tiffany Schimmerling. I'm a florist, and I own Dogwood Floral. I've been a florist for over 20 years. So I was actually very lucky from the very beginning to work at really great shops throughout Chicago and the suburbs. And I think that's what's really helped me develop my style and to learn a lot of what to do and not to do when I did have my own, which we've had Dogwood for 13 years. So I started it with my mom. And we're a studio opposed to a walk-in flower shop, which now a lot of people are studios. But I
love that about you.
Yeah. When I started it,
feeling.
So it's a little bit different, as people can't just walk in and get flowers. If we have extra flowers, we'll definitely sell them. But most of our flowers are bought specifically for each party that's already set up. So that's what the main difference between a studio opposed to a traditional brick and mortar.
Yeah, and I didn't mean homey. I used the wrong term. What I meant is it's a very creative space because it's in a loft.
Right.
It's open and raw, and it just it lends to a lot of creativity. I don't know. That's how I feel when I walk in there, at least.
Yeah, right? I definitely love it. I've always loved what I do. Our neighborhood has definitely changed a lot. When we came here 13 years ago, it was a meatpacking district, and literally it was meat packers everywhere and semi trucks. There weren't people walking around. And now, as most people know who have been anywhere near the West Loop, it's completely transformed. It's totally different, which is why we're also starting to change. We've always had, for quite a few years, signage on our window, and people know, but now people are Googling and looking for, Google is around the corner from us now. So people are Googling like where a flower shop is, and they're finding us. So like, we're finally going to have a sign outside after 13 years, and because there's more people in the neighborhood. So we're trying to also get that. I always wanted to be retail, but it just never happened for us. And a lot of people that are in my business said I'm crazy to go retail. So I'm trying to get a little bit of that in the studio.
Yeah, but you know what? You're also, I mean, you're really entrepreneurial because that was pioneering going into a neighborhood like that so many years ago.
Right.
And foreseeing, I mean, look at how it's changed. So that just kind of goes along the lines of who you are as an entrepreneur too. Seeing
Well,
the
I definitely say, right. And I definitely say that came from seeing seeing a florist that I worked at who actually was one of the first to do that, to be in a studio like mine. And then working at a shop, seeing somebody who came into the floral industry not being a florist and him starting from scratch and seeing how difficult that was and how many challenges came with that. That's why when we originally started our business, there was another florist in our space, and it was my friend Amy, and she sold the business to us and moved to Florida. But we basically changed the name, and we basically bought Good Faith and a Rolodex. And so when we first started, we had some of her clients, but there's no guarantee they were going to stay with us, so we hoped, and luckily they did, and then we've grown from there.
So let me ask you, you said that you worked for other florists. You were lucky enough to be work for other florists. Is that where you kind of realized that you had this like knack or talent for creating arrangements?
So I don't know if it's the Taurus in me, but ever since I started when I was 24, the first thing I said when I met other florists, like, we should have our own shop.
Oh my God.
I always said that. And I always wanted my
Why were you thinking that and not thinking that you could just work for someone else?
I don't know. I always said I wanted my own shop. I mean, I don't remember the reason why, except that I always said it. Anytime I met people that I thought were talented and good, like, we should have a shop together. Because I do like the idea. I've never wanted to just be by myself. I like the idea of a partnership. When I started with my mom.
Yeah.
She helped me start the business. And then, unfortunately, my mom passed almost 7 years ago. So I lost her. And so now it's been just me. So it's given me a lot more drive and passion to keep it because I love it, and also to honor all that she sacrificed for me to start this business.
That's so beautiful. I love that. So you really have a great why. Every entrepreneur has a why, and that's your beautiful why. I love that, Tiffany.
And a lot of people ask where our name came from, and our name.
I wanted to ask you that because it's a fun, like, it actually matches your style of work. It totally.
I think so. Because I would say our look is funky and pretty. Like, I always like to do something really pretty, but then something cool with textures and something different. And since it was our first business, my mom was obsessed with animals, and dogs ruled in our life. And so Oliver was her dog, and it was my first word. And since it was our first business together, and then, are you still there?
I'm here.
And then Dogwood was our favorite flowering branch. So that's how we came up with the name.
I love it. I love it. And
I wanted it to be different, and
different. And you guys, I'm telling you, her work is different. Like, it's just different. Like, it's so organic looking all the time. It always has texture to it. In all the pieces that you put together, it always has texture and movement. It's more a piece of art. Your arrangements are pieces of art. That's why I get so excited when Nancy sends me something from you. I always know it's from you. And if I send something out, I know it's going to look like a piece of artwork. And that's what her specialty is. If you're looking for something different, it's just, and there is a softness to it, like an edge, a soft feeling to the flowers that you use that kind of cut into the textures, right?
I still like them. I mean, flowers are pretty. I still want them to be pretty.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so I want to backtrack one quick second. Did you ever go through any type of schooling? Because I know there is schooling to be a.
So I did. Again, because of my mom, when I first started, I was just working at a bucket shop, and I decided I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I was kind of like flopping around with what I wanted to do in my life. And my mom's like, well, if you like it, you should go to school. So I did go to the American Floral Art School downtown. It was a small program, but that's where I started. And then I really learned, though, from working in other flower shops. I mean, I really just learned from watching really good designers. And things have changed a lot. But when I first started, like I was a bucket girl for over a year.
And
And
what does that mean? What does bucket girl mean?
process the flowers, clean the buckets, water the plants, fix the cooler. You did not make arrangements. And then eventually you prep the containers. And, so I did it more old school where it took me a long time to get to the point where I finally got to design. And I sort of, because I was so good at being a bucket girl, the shop I was at, I was like, they're so busy. I'm never going to get the chance they don't have time to teach me to be a designer. So then that's when I went to a shop in the city, actually in the Leo Burnett building. And I worked there. And then from there, I went to a shop in Lake Forest. And that's where I really learned like the beautiful English garden style.
Mm-hmm.
The real, the sweet peas and the ranunculus and the peonies and, that really tight, lush look. Then after a few years of being there, I went back into the city and worked at a shop that did really industrial, really more architectural things for like restaurants and hotels, like Trotters and Nomi. And I literally cried the first 6 months I was there because I thought, I'm not this talented. Like I'm not good enough to be here. I only know how to do this really pretty, feminine sort of English garden style. I don't know how to do this, but I made it through it. And
so right here, I want to ask you, because I always want to talk about mindset. What shifted for you to take that belief from I could never do that to I'm doing it? Like what shifted?
I finally just I would say my bosses and then the people I work with helped me. I would say definitely my coworkers really helped me. I just watched them. I watched what they were picking. I watched what containers they were using. I watched how they were designing things. And then I do think I've always had an innate sense of like, I'm a freak about things being perfect and like so I'm really good at picking beautiful product and flowers. And then I just learned to put the right flowers and textures together. And using less is what they were doing there. So that was also a big challenge. Less was more there. So they might only use 2 or 3 elements, and everything was big and tall and heavy. And so, because you're in hotels and restaurants, so the pieces had to be bigger. And then I
find those too.
Yeah. So then when I started my own, I feel like those 2 shops are really the 2 shops that I took a lot from. The industrial restaurant style and then that beautiful English garden style.
I love it. That's what created your style, that you have a definite unique style. So let me ask you, because I remember years ago, there was a point in time where you were kind of like challenged, right? I remember you were contemplating, maybe closing this business. So what were some of the challenges? Because a lot of times when a creative person decides to start a business, they don't know anything about running a business. Right. I don't know. Do you have a business background?
No, not at all.
Okay. So I want you to just share with us and share with the audience, like, what was some of your most challenging times and how did you overcome whatever was happening at the time?
So I would say we had challenges from the get-go with, so when my mom and I first decided to start the business, my parents were divorced, but they lived in the same building. And so my dad was diagnosed with cancer the same week we signed the papers to start this business. So our plan originally of how my mom and I were going to start the business changed because I had to be here and she had to help take care of my dad. So that was challenge number 1. And, but we got through it. My dad at that point had survived cancer. And I kept the business going and we were doing well. We were doing really well. And then we decided to hire a designer to help because we were doing so much. And I would say one of our greatest assets and probably biggest mistake was that we hired an incredibly talented designer that still works for me to this day on a freelance basis and happens to be one of my closest friends. But as a small beginning young company, we hired a too senior of a designer as far as cost. So when the crash happened in 2008, we didn't have enough money saved to cover that and get through it. So we had to let him go, which was the hardest thing I've ever had to do, is to let him go. Because I had so many hopes and dreams of how our business was going to go. And to have to let go of this person, I felt like I really let him down. And I felt that was hard to get over that. And then, but we had to do it if I wanted to keep my business. And so we kept going, and then obviously things got better. It also made me realize you can't keep all your eggs in one basket. Like we had a certain kind of clientele, and we were doing a lot of corporate, and then obviously the corporate money went away when the crash happened because they can't justify having all these flowers when, you know, they're letting their employees go. So then we started doing more weddings. So in the beginning we were more corporate, and then a little bit of weddings. Then for a while we were more corporate. And now I feel like we're back to half and half. We're back to corporate and weddings. So then the next biggest challenge, which almost made me close, was losing my mom. That was really hard. So there was a lot of challenges there on every level, physically, emotionally, financially. Again, I do feel like I'm really good at what I do with flowers. Business is not what I'm best at all. And so it was really hard. And I will say having great relationships with my vendors made a huge difference, because there was time where I literally didn't have enough money to buy flowers because the business was that bad. But my wholesalers kept me going and let me keep buying so I could keep the business going. So I'm incredibly loyal to the places that I shop, you know, because they helped me keep my business going. And that was 7 years ago that it was.
So cool. That's so old school. I love hearing that.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of my father when he started his business. He didn't have the money to his restaurant, but like the dairy man started him with all the dairy that he would need, and the
Right.
bun man with that, and the coffee man. So everybody's, you know, that's such a cool. That's not today, you know. So you were really lucky to have that happen to you.
And that's why it was so important to me, because things were bad, and there was a point that I wasn't sure if I could keep it going. But there was no way, even if I couldn't have kept it going, I wasn't gonna not still, you know, honor what I owe to my vendors. And like, so there was no option to like still not take care of that. But luckily we got out of it, and I was able, and now these last 4 years, we've never been in the red again. And, you know, and these last 2 years have been the best 2 years we've had. So
when you were at that low, what were you thinking and believing that didn't make you just shut the doors and say, I'm done?
I just felt like we've always just been, and I still sort of feel this way, but I just feel like we just have never been able to turn that corner. But I just feel like we're so close. And I felt like my mom did so much to help me do this, and I love this so much, and I just didn't want to let it go. And so I would say Frankie, my mom, really was and my dad, you know, they're both gone. And they, you know, my dad would come in here and he would first open up the cooler to see if there's flowers. And then he would open the refrigerator to see if there was food. So if there was flowers, I had business. If there was food, I was making money. So, so because of them, I really, you know, and the love of it. I do love what I do. I really do.
It shows, you guys, it shows in her work. I'm telling you, you've not seen anything like what she does. It shows. It's transparent. So let me ask you, if there was a woman that wanted to start a business, not a florist, but anything, any kind of a business, what would be your best piece?
Oh, I lost you a little bit. What would be what?
Your best piece of advice that you would give to her?
I would definitely say do something that you love and that you're passionate about, because nobody is going to care as much as you do about your business. Nobody. And it's somebody actually said that to me in a little on PC way. I won't, but he said, nobody's going to care the way that you care. And that's true. And then I would say the business side of it really matters. I didn't come in with a strong business side of it. And it makes a difference on every level. Like if you're not making money, you can't get more employees, and you can't offer the things you want, and then you can't grow and, you know, spread your business to more people. So I would say no matter what you're choosing to do, you really do have to have a strong sense of the business and how to, you know, it is to make money, you know, so you have to make money.
A hobby.
I struggle with that part.
Well, we were talking about that last week with the photographer that I'd had on, Karen Woolley. And, she was saying from the get go, I treated it like a business. It wasn't a hobby. Otherwise, I mean,
Yeah.
I
It's
was
never
like,
been a hobby to me. It's always been a business. I just, it's like, oh, I just want to put one more, but one more stem of flower, it's $4. But if I'm doing 20 arrangements, then that's 4 times 20, or then they're going to get that arrangement at the price that they think it's for, when it's really, if it's a $75 arrangement, but if I really made it for $100, and then they want that again, so you're doing a disservice, because then you're disappointing your client and you're not making money.
right.
The biggest struggle.
So if someone's not particularly business savvy, would you suggest then to get like a mentor or get some help around that?
I think so. Like, I share space with another florist, and she is much better at the business side of it, and my mom was much better at the business side of it. And so yeah, there's check and balance there. So she helps me, stay. And I do think, because I've been listening to her more, that's what's made my last couple of years financially better.
That's awesome. Well, you are just like, I mean, like you just said, you feel like it's going to happen. It's like that's what's caused you not to like give up, because you feel like it's just around the corner. That's where you're at right now. And I know that sometimes that's where entrepreneurs go, I'm done. And they don't realize that, success is just like around the corner, right?
Yeah.
So let me ask you one last question. What is the best mistake you've ever made with your business?
Ooh, the best mistake I ever made. Oh, that's a hard one. The best mistake I ever made. Well, I guess I would say hiring the full-time designer, hiring Dominic. That's the best mistake I ever made. Yeah.
Because you learned from him.
I learned from him. And I also learned that even though he was a senior designer, and I'm meaning more with talent and pay, he can do what 2 or 3 people could do. So in the end, like, so when I hire, now I've learned how to hire him for like the heavy hitting. Like, I can process and I can prep, and then have him to help with the creativity and, on site day when we're setting up, because he's so good at it. And I don't have to think twice, because him and I are like, we dance. So I don't have to worry about it. He knows how I'm thinking and how I want it done. So I would say he's the best mistake I ever made.
That's really cool. Well, Tiffany, I can't tell you, I am such a big fan of your work.
Oh, thank you, Patty. I'm a big fan of you too.
Tell the audience where they can find you on the web and your bricks and mortar location. Tell them, because just because you're in the city doesn't mean you can't like come up, right? So tell them everything.
Okay, we're located in the West Loop at 212 North Sangamon. We also deliver, so we have a delivery service. If you wanted flowers, we deliver to Chicago and the suburbs. We have an Instagram page, Oliver Dogwood. We have a Facebook page, and we also have a website, oliverdogwoodfloral.com.
Now, how do you do it? Because this is something I wanted to ask for just really quickly. When someone is out of state, how do they do that? Because
we don't do out of state.
Then, right? It's somebody else.
Yeah, we're not part of like a floral wire service. So so we'll recommend florists, but and we could take care of it for you, but we're not part of a service. Like, you're not going to get our flowers.
And then what type of who, like, for my audience, like, tell them all the different type of venues that you would service. Like, do you do graduation parties? Do you do first meetings,
Yeah, we do everything. We do small weddings, big weddings, graduations, small dinners, individual flowers, which a lot of people don't know. We do that too. So if Bill was ordering flowers for your birthday, like, we do that. Dan always orders flowers for Nancy, so we'll do flowers for that. So we do everything. Corporate, we do a lot of corporate flowers, and we mostly do flowers, but we will also help, with the planning of, like, we can get the tablecloths for you, and we have candles, and, we have a lot of different containers here. And so we do both.
Cool. And your Facebook page is?
Oliver Dogwood.
Okay, I'm going to tag you in the comments, and then your website is Oliver Dogwood, right?
Yes, and so is our Instagram.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm so glad we had a chance to connect and share your story with the audience. I just am so inspired by your creativity.
And thank you so much for
you. I just seriously, I look at it and and I am a flower lover. My audience knows that. I love flowers, but it's just like, it's such, like I said, it feels like a piece of artwork. Your stuff feels like artwork to me. So
Oh, thank you so much. I love you and your sister.
all right. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this Entrepreneur Wednesday. If you like these interviews, you can jump on my Facebook page and just scroll the thread and see all the other ones that I've done. There's been so many different ones from different backgrounds. If you're a woman that's kind of like in the fog, you think there's something up here, like an idea, but you just don't know what, give me a shout. I do a select amount of what I call clarity calls or insight calls a month. And I'm happy to jump on the phone with you just to kind of find out where you're at and where you want to go and how I might be able to help you to get there. Or if I can't, I can suggest someone that can. So have an amazing day, and I will see you back here next week.